Yo, what's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song of the Day, Rock 2000, where we are unearthing all of the underground rock and metal bands out there today, all the emerging bands out there today, so that you can get in the know with them now, so that when they become the biggest bands in the world by like 2030 or something like that, you can brag to your friends and be like, ha ha ha, I knew exactly who they were. Now as fans before you guys were. Ha! So yeah, that's perfect for this. And to jump into this episode, guys, so I found this band on that classic SiriusXM Octane fan page because lead singer Cody always is posting on there. Gave him a shot, and this is the exclusive first interview for the band. So please welcome all four members of the band To Begin Anew. Are you guys ready? Because this one was an absolute blast. We go through a lot of great stuff, including their Arise single and a lot about personal growth, especially because of the meaning of the song. Are you guys ready? Because this is a great one. So let's go. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. I have been talking about, that SiriusXM Octane fan group that I got put on, that I've been discovering a lot of bands and how I got to interview a lot of them because of the suggestions on that. Well, this one was a tidbit different because Mr. Cody over here, lead singer for this band, To Begin Anew, kept posting about his band's new single and their new video and for people to check it out. And well, good thing I got put on that group because I just clicked on it. Okay, I said, let's take a listen. Before you knew it, I sent them an email. We had a call back and forth just to make sure everything was set up good to go. And now they are here today. So please welcome the band To Begin Anew. So guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Oh, what's up, man? Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on, guys. As I mentioned this earlier, but for everyone else knowing, when it comes to recording, this is like one of my recordings in there that is my 6 in the span of 7 days. So the energy for me somehow is still incredibly high. So I'm like, let's do this. Ah!
Well, good. That helps us as well. So we're feeding off you, man.
That's how it is a lot of times with live shows too, where it's like, I'm always the one in the crowd, but it's always, if the band is giving off energy, then the crowd's feeding off it, or vice versa, and that becomes a feeding frenzy back and forth to the point where next thing you know, the whole entire band is performing in the crowd, or the drummer ends up getting his drum kit pulled off, put in the middle of the circle pit, and starts playing, and everyone's just running around him like crazy.
Oh yeah, that's a crazy idea. Yeah, I don't know how crazy he'd be about that, but I would be down for it.
That's a great idea.
I'll say the guy I saw do that, I think he was, how old was he when he was drumming doing that? He might have been in his late 40s drumming in the middle of the circle pit. So
hell no. Nice.
It was the drummer from Anti-Flag. So I was like, dang, this is awesome.
That explains everything. So
oh yeah, it does. But as we get started, the first thing I wanted you guys to do, because you're probably relatively new to a lot of the listeners of this podcast, so what I want you guys to do is, we're going to do the classic introduction that I have everyone do because, well, I find it hilarious. So what I want you guys to do is we'll go around. We'll have you guys say your name, what you do in the band, and then my favorite thing, we're going all like grade school and middle school about it. A little fun fact about yourself, mostly because I love to see the wacky things people come up with. So if you guys can beat people giving me their Tinder bios, people telling me that they were the biggest YouTube sensation in Sweden before PewDiePie became a thing, or if you have a famous Twitter cat. If you guys can beat that with some wacky fun facts, I want to hear them. So I'll let you guys take it away.
My name's Cody. I do lead vocals and play rhythm guitar with To Begin Anew. A fun fact about me is, help me out. What do I have anything fun?
Dude, I don't know.
I really like cats. That's about as good as it gets.
I'm going to send you that the handle for that Twitter cat then so you can follow, because I forgot, what band was it? I think it was a band called Crooked Ways. It was it was their guitarist. Cat had like 11,000 followers on Twitter, and they're brand ambassadors for Chewy now. So somehow it worked. Don't know why, but somehow it works.
You got it.
I'm Casey. I play the drums. I'm boring as well. Let's see. I'm left-handed, and we've been playing music together for 12 years.
Yeah, that's something we can say.
These two been together forever.
Casey and I are actually brothers. We started playing music together. I was probably maybe 12 or 13. You were 14.
Something like that.
So that is a fun fact. If you want a good fun fact, we've been playing music together pretty much half of our lifespan now. So
So that would easily constitute as a fun fact. So I can dig it.
Shane Norn, bassist for us, To Begin Anew. I guess fun fact is I went to high school with these dudes. That's how I met them and watching their old band play. And I like Ninja Turtles a lot.
So you guys should, at one point, because there's 4 of you guys, you should go on stage, dress up as the Ninja Turtles, and just see what happens. That could be for a Halloween show you guys do later down the line.
Everybody will be down with that for sure.
I think they've just created a great idea here, and all of a sudden you guys have to do all these, like a cover of the theme song for the cartoon, at least, just for shits and gigs.
Absolutely.
Macon Pittman, play lead guitar, and I do backing vocals. Fun fact about me is I'm the youngest one in this band, and I also had to fight my way into this band.
That is a true story. He literally had to fight his. Well, I'm not going to say literally. That makes it sound a lot worse than what it actually is. So.
Okay, but he had to fight his way in the band somehow. If it's somewhat literal, I'm expecting you to knock somebody out to do this. So I'm really interested to hear how the hell Macon got the band.
It was this whole big gang initiation thing, man. They beat me for like 15 minutes.
That's not true. He is the baby by a significant amount of years, but he's an awesome dude. We're glad to have him on board for sure.
Let's say so. Macon, how old are you where you're considered the baby of the group?
19.
Okay, now you're making me feel old. God damn it.
I just turned 30. Casey is 31, and Shane just turned 32. So he's 19. So, I mean, on top of us having to make sure that we're in check, we also got to make sure that he's in check. So just by default.
Okay, now you guys are making me feel like somewhat normal again because I'm 25, so I'm like, okay, now I'm definitely like in the middle of that where I'm like, when I hear how old Macon is, I'm like, God damn it, I'm feeling old. All of a sudden I hear you guys talk about how you're in your early 30s or just turned 30. I'm like, this feels better again. I'm like, everywhere I've gone, every time in life when it was either doing stuff like this or like working at a job or something, I was always the youngest one no matter what. Like my first job ever really was worked at the local paper here in Milwaukee called the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and I would just put all the ads into the paper. I'd work doing that, and I was always the youngest one by like at least 10 years. And I was always like one of the people doing the most amount of work there. And it's just like everyone would look at me like, what the hell is he doing? Is he trying to show us up? And then I go on all these other jobs like, yeah, I'm the youngest here. Current full-time job I'm in right now, I started at 20 when I was 24, so I started last year. And I meet my coworker, like my one coworker who was in the office with me. She was 18. She had just turned 18 like 2 months earlier. I'm like, okay, now this is freaking weird. And I've felt old. I was going to have to get a cane or a walker, start talking about how my ulcers were acting up. I mean, it was going to get bad.
Well, see, I used to always, in any bands that I've been in the past, I was always the baby. So there's a little bit of jealousy now knowing that he's the baby. So
you can always find a way to, like, if you really want to think about it, where you're going to be a certain youngest in a certain aspect, where like for my family personally, it's now all my cousins and are having kids. So we got a kid that's 7 years old, and then all of a sudden like everyone's between like the ages like 4 to newborn. But then there's a large gap between that generation and the one that I'm a part of, and I'm the youngest one at 25 of that generation. So I'm still like, I'm still the youngest in that aspect. So suck on that. Woo!
At least you don't have kids.
Yeah, funny story about Macon. Originally, whenever we decided that me and Casey had been in bands for a while in the past, and the previous band that him and I were in, I actually stepped out of the band to pursue a career. I had a job, but it was a nowhere job, minimum wage. There was just no future in it for me. So I ultimately made a decision to go back to school and went to college for a gig I got now. Through the years, I got myself to a position where I could have a little bit more free time. And I started writing some music. It wasn't ever really planned on becoming a band, but I obviously was playing guitar and just writing some music. And I got up with my brother and said, hey, you just want to maybe just jam and just see what happens. And the more we kind of jammed, the more it started becoming something more than just jamming. And we had a guy that we recruited to play bass who ultimately stepped down. Shane ended up taking that spot, but Macon had reached out to me and was wanting to join the band. And just for the fact of him being 19, I was like, we're a little worried about that aspect. And we kind of passed on him. And then the more me and the guys started talking, we said, well, hey, let's give him a chance. And he come over and blew us away. So we said, all right, well, we'll let you stick around. So he had to fight a little bit for us. So I'll give it to him. He was determined for sure.
You know, the message you sent me was actually like, we've auditioned a few guys and we want to check you out, where in reality you auditioned nobody because nobody auditioned.
You gotta make it sound better than what it actually is.
And you just
Oh my God.
Staying.
Well, I actually jammed with them in the beginning of the year. I guess they were trying when they were putting the band together, and I was in another band at the time, and I kind of regret not staying in this band in the beginning because these are my dudes, and I don't know, I just a lot more freedom and happiness.
You got your place there, Shane.
Yeah.
Me and Casey have been in several bands in the past with members. I mean, it's like any band. Usually you've got people that come and then you got people that go, and it's always a revolving door for the most part. But in my experience in being in bands, I can honestly say the group of guys I'm with now, that I feel like it's going to be a pretty solid lineup with us. I mean, we all, for exception of Macon, we all grew up, went to school together. But then it's like he was a natural once he walked in the door and started jamming with us. I mean, the connection was obvious.
Yeah, and it's very rare too where you're gonna get a point where all of a sudden the group of guys that you start a band with, or the group of, or just anybody who you start a band with, is gonna be that, like they're gonna be in the band throughout the whole entire run of it. It's very rare to see a band just start out with like a group of, let's say, 4 members and then just stick with those 4 members throughout their entire career. I mean, not every band's gonna be Alter Bridge with that, so it makes a lot of sense where I've talked to a lot of different bands where all of a sudden it's just, yeah, we started out here and all of a sudden this person came in and it was kind of out, in, out, in, out kind of thing. But it's all dependent upon, especially when you're growing and emerging as a band, where the priorities lie for each member as well, how the chemistry works as well, because you never know. All of a sudden you start to gain some success. You start to see the amount of work that it takes, and someone in the band might have a family. It's like, well, I knew this could potentially be a success. I didn't realize how much work it was going to be. So for the betterment of them, they're going to end up sticking with what they want, what's going to be better for them, which will be like saying being a family man, being a dad, that kind of thing, which is totally okay. But the fact of the matter is it's going to take time to really figure out that what your core group of guys is going to be in this band. It's going to take time to develop that chemistry and to make sure that, this is what we want. However, hearing the stories about how you guys have been together since, you guys got to school together, with the exception of Macon, due to the fact that, he's the baby of the group. I had to do that because I thought it was funny. But you found him, and it's just, when you saw him play, it was just the style really fit and worked within what you guys were trying to do, so that chemistry was going to be there. And it seems like now you got those 4 guys that are going to be the guys going forward. And even though we're in this crazy ass world where, if people are playing live shows, they're very small shows. But I mean, it's just a weird year for music all around, and we're not happy about it. No one's happy about it.
Oh, of course.
I'd love to play a show soon.
That's the only thing that I can say that's been beneficial for us.
Yeah.
Is that Casey and I started the project in January. We had a final lineup in March, and then some things happened with our former bass player, and then Shane stepped in. But as he said, he was one of the original bass players that come in for the spot, so he was already kind of familiar with the music. So it's been extremely beneficial for us is that we've been able to dial in our set and our music in this downtime where typically you kind of got to slow roll into that, where whenever the world opens back up, we'll be able to hit the ground running. So that's been the only good thing about it for us.
Well, the thing that you're doing right about that is you're taking a look at the time that you're in right now, where you can't really play live shows and there's not much going on outside of really promoting yourselves online. However, you're looking at that saying, instead of saying, oh, we're in this virus, we're in this pandemic, oh, woe is me, I wish everything was the way it was so that we could have gone through this year like we originally had planned, and just constantly playing the what if game, instead of what you're doing right now is you're playing the, okay, we're in this situation, we're in this place where we can't really go out and play live shows, there's not much else going on around, so how can we make the most of this situation, how can we make the most of this time, so that when we're able to go back to what we were doing, what can we do to maximize that? So working on new music, making music videos, so all of a sudden by the time when everything opens up back up again, you have a good amount of material to basically, hit the ground running when the world gets back to what it originally kind of was BC, before Corona. I should have had a Corona for this with a lime and just started chugging it after that. I'm like, okay, now it's after C, and just chucked it at the wall. My landlord probably wouldn't have liked it if I chucked the glass bottle at the wall, but then again, I'm the one cleaning it up, so who cares?
Right. Yeah, there's actually there's been some bands from the same area that we're in who pretty much just kind of pump the brakes on their stuff, and just are saying the music industry's come to some sort of stop or some sort of standstill. And although a certain aspect of that is true, there's still so much more that you can do. I mean, the majority of your music stuff now is pretty strongly based on social media and internet based stuff. So I mean, even though you're not able to get out there and play live shows, I mean, you can do things like we've been doing, promoting on different platforms. You got live streams. There's work to be done. You just got to be willing to do it.
Right. And technically, even before Corona, I mean, you could theoretically do music without ever playing a show, and still do a quote unquote career out of that.
I mean, look at what Machine Gun Kelly and Post Malone did. Right. They set up all their stuff online.
Yeah, or take a look at what someone that I've just absolutely been just kind of as a case study of what to do when all of a sudden stuff goes to crap, and how you can just continue to grow your audience is someone like Ronnie Radke of Falling in Reverse, just becoming the most popular streamer on Twitch right now. Because someone the other day I told me, he's like, okay, you have to get on Twitch just to have to follow some of these. I'm like, okay, not going to subscribe because I just don't want to pay to subscribe, but I'll just take a look at the follower count, the subscriber count. I took a look at all of a sudden you see guys like Craig Mavin from Escape the Fate and Telly from The Word Alive, and they've got under 10,000 likes. I'm like, okay, let's take a look at the big guys to see who's been on here for a little bit longer and seeing how they're doing it. Guys like Matt Heafy from Trivium, I mean, he's constantly connecting with the fans on there and playing music for them, with them, and he's got over 66,000 followers on Twitch. Ronnie Radke's almost got 100,000 the last time I checked, and he's just reacting to people, reacting to his music. He's just playing video games and just having a blast doing it. So it's just something where they've focused on, okay, we can't really play live shows right now. We can't really go out and do what we were doing. So, but what can we do that make sure that we're going to continue to grow, make sure that we're going to continue to have our audience not only listen to our music, but also keep us fresh in their minds. So going forward, once this is done, all of a sudden, okay, live shows come out. Who do you want to see right away? And they're going to be the first name you think of because they've been around. They've been in the front of your mind throughout this whole entire pandemic.
Well, they've adapted and found a way to stay relevant through everything.
At that point, that's why I need to have the Bear Grylls gift come across. Just says improvise, adapt, overcome.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty much what this whole entire pandemic has shown us. It's what you have to do: improvise, adapt, overcome. From my standpoint as well, it's like, yeah, I have a podcast where I'm interviewing emerging bands in the scene. Once this pandemic hit, I mean, in my mind, the first thing I thought was, holy shit, there are going to be a bunch of bands that are going to be sitting around and trying to find new ways to promote and try and find new ways to get their music out there and get themselves out there as well for a larger audience. Where do I fit in that? I'm just like, well, especially for emerging bands, a lot of times you're playing shows or you're just promoting online. I'm just giving them an extra platform to do it. And, well, I mean, when the pandemic hit, I was at episode 60, and I only had 6 or 7 bands ever that I've interviewed. Since then, I've done only 2 podcasts where I've had to do them by myself. And now I'm at the point where I'm not only just doing Tuesday episodes, I'm doing Tuesdays and Thursdays because I'm just constantly just grinding at it to try and get more. And then it's like, okay, now I'm seeing other bands doing all this stuff. I'm seeing the people that are helping them out with this stuff. And I'm like, hey, let me see if I can get some of that help too with growing the audience. So it's just constantly thinking about, okay, we're in the situation we are right now. How can we maximize it for ourselves?
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that.
That's my econ brain working. I knew my college education was useful for something, even though I don't really use it. I don't use it for this. I don't use it that much for my full-time job, but I'm using it somehow. And I'm like, yeah, I did something right. But better than going for something like, well, what was it? No, I was going to go econ. Better going for something like journalism or something. I had to just poke my brother at that one because that's what he went for.
Right.
If he listened to this, well, Scott, yeah, you went for journalism. That's me poking fun at you. I know you're going to come back at me with something, but whatever.
You still love them. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
It still comes to a point where if the NFL does allow fans at some point later this year, my brother and I will skip out on Christmas Day with our family to fly to New Orleans because I'm a huge Vikings fan. he's a huge Saints fan. Both teams play on Christmas Day in New Orleans. And when we first saw the schedule, he's like, dude, if they're gonna allow fans, we're going, right? I'm like, well, it's Christmas. He said, I don't give a shit, we're going. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Fuck it.
You go.
That's that kind of, well, brotherly. I wouldn't say brotherly love. It's more like brotherly agreeance. Maybe. I don't fucking know.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So let's go to Begin Anew, mostly because, again, that's why we're here, and that's what we want to talk about. We want to hear about your band. So when it comes to you guys growing up and getting into music, especially with a band that's starting out the way you guys are starting out right now, what were the influences that you guys had to not only get into music, what was the music that you were listening to that really made you want to be musicians and basically form your musical identity that you have right now?
Oh, well, for myself, if it hadn't have been, I mean, I can spit off the 2 albums that kind of changed my life, if you will.
Go for it.
Nirvana's Nevermind and Metallica's Black Album. Those are the 2 albums that made me even want to pick up a guitar. Without those, I wouldn't even have no interest in it. So those 2 albums is what made me have the desire to even try to start playing music.
Let's just say Shane really pulled this off well with his wardrobe choice today.
Right
on, Shane.
But well, Cody, when it comes down to it, really want to know is like, why were those 2 albums the ones that really stuck out in your mind? Why were those 2 albums the ones that made you want to get in music, especially with one being that grunge style with Nirvana's Nevermind and one being more thrash metal with the Black Album from Metallica?
I don't know, man. I mean, I've always thought that I've had like a special connection with music, and those 2 albums in particular, they spoke to me and they just hit me in a place that never really had contact made before. And I guess I could just kind of hear the expression in what those people were feeling in their lives at that moment in time, and just learning how to express yourself in a way that other people can understand, and without, I guess, in a sense, using a different form of expression to connect one person to another person. I like that outlet. It seemed like a really healthy outlet to just kind of express yourself with more than just words.
Okay. I just wanted to see exactly where your mindset was going with that, because I have had people tell me in the past same thing. It's like, okay, I got into these albums, that's what I got into music, but I always want to know the context behind it, because it allows not only myself, but especially the fans as well, to have a deeper connection with your band at the same time. Due to the fact that it's like, okay, for myself, it's, yeah, I might not have listened to those albums as much as you did, where, I mean, for Nirvana's Nevermind, it's, yeah, I've listened to it. With Metallica's Black Album, yeah, I've listened to it, I've enjoyed it, but it hasn't hit me the same way that it's hit you. However, there are certain albums out there where it's like the first time I listened to them, like I sat back in my seat and I was like, did I just actually hear that? Like, is that, and it just hit me in a certain way. Like for me, I would have to say like that'd be something like The Suffer and the Witness by Rise Against and The Silver Screen by Ice Nine Kills. Like just sitting down, just thinking like, oh my God, it's just perfect. And it just like motivates you in a certain way that makes you want to do something in basically wherever your life wants you to go and wherever your heart wants you to go. It kind of is that extra motivational tool to be like, okay, maybe it is make music. Maybe it is go and try something else. Maybe it's just randomly go skydiving one day just because, heck, you've always wanted to do it and you're not going to let, maybe other people say, no, you can't do it because they think it's too dangerous. No, go for it. Fuck it. Who gives a shit?
Right. Yeah, both those albums for me, man, front to back. I mean, it was like a missing piece for me.
That's something that you're never going to really hear unless, somebody basically asks the question, why, and really wants to dig deep. But then again, we all have those albums too. So there's going to be a connection that inherently grows from people that listen to the people that are making the music and the people that are also have made the other music as well. So it's kind of like a 3-chain thing, or it's the fans, you, and then not only that, but you and Nirvana, Metallica.
Right.
So now I'm curious to see what the other guys have to say about that question when it comes to what music inspired you, what music influenced you.
So much of Casey.
I can't pick an album. Like I grew up around music though. Like my dad was a guitar player. He ran sound for bands. So locally, I was always going with him to pretty much every show that he worked at, and it just kind of.
He was around live music.
Way too many bands stuck with me for me to pick out any.
That's fair. Do you remember like what bands, if there's any bands like, now I'm not talking about albums, I'm just talking about bands that stuck out to you, or especially because with the style, like with your dad being a guitarist and also doing sound for a bunch of bands as well, was there a certain style or a certain genre that he would always work with that inspired you in any way?
He worked with a little bit of everything, style and genre. I usually stuck with more heavy music.
You're big into hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big into hardcore now, but especially back then, one of the first bands that stuck with me was from Wilmington, a band called ASG. And I mean, just real heavy rock and roll type stuff.
Stoner metal.
That's
metal.
That's one thing you'll find out, Kevin, is like every one of us, you wouldn't think that we would work together just because everybody is like got their own style. But it's like whenever we come together, it's like that puzzle. It's like, that's what was needed. This works well together.
I'll put it this way for you, Cody. And initially you would think, for a lot of people, it'd be like, they take a look at all these different influences that you guys have. It's like, yeah, it doesn't seem like it would work. But then when it comes together, it does. For someone like myself, though, who's been doing this for like interviewing bands for over a year now at this point, or almost a year now at this point, and hearing all the stories and hearing about all the other different influences in there as well, you'd be incredibly surprised to see how that all plays out. And look,
we're having some issues on our end. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. I kind of was. So I'll reiterate what I was saying because I saw the fan stop spin. I'm like, thinking, shit, here we go. But no, it's back now. So basically what I was saying was like, out of all the bands that I've interviewed, a lot of times I see people that have different influence from so many different places. But it's one thing that I always think about is you take those influences, and when it comes to writing songs, when it comes to creating music, say like, especially with Casey, where you had kind of more of that like hardcore feel to it. And then you also kind of got into some stoner metal, stoner rock as well. Then you get someone like Cody who's got that like grunge, not only grunge, but also thrash metal kind of feel to it as well, especially with his influences. And when you mold them together, there are certain aspects of those styles, certain aspects of those genres that when you're writing music, you're going to be thinking, okay, this is prominent in this style, but we're writing a song that has this kind of style. But is there a way we can intertwine those? Is there a way we can match those up and fuse those? So all of a sudden we can create something that has like this sort of just rather different sound, but also incredible in the same right. And there's a lot of bands that do it and a lot of bands that do it well. Hell, I mean, you take a look at a bunch of these other bands that out there, if everyone kind of has the same influence, then the sound kind of sounds the same overall. I mean, it's you're not going to have a certain dynamic to it. But I know there's a perfect example is this one band that I've gotten close with. They're called Rebel Manic. They're a punk band out of New York. And their bass is in punk rock, but they listen to so many other things. And on their latest album called Ghost in the Shadows, I mean, I listened to it and it was just like, okay, this song is punk, but also has some like other 80s punk vibes in it. Now this one sounds like it has like some ska in it. Now this one sounds like it has some hip hop in it that has like a Rage Against the Machine feel. This one has some jazz influence in there. And then they have the last song on there. It's called Emergency Brake. I'm like, it starts out with a funk guitar riff and then it matches funk and punk together. So I'm like, how the hell does that work? But then you listen and you're thinking, hell yeah, that works. So all those different influences can easily come together and create something incredible. But the other thing that really helps that out too is if you guys have this incredibly built chemistry, so even if it doesn't seem like it would work on paper, you have the belief and you have the comfort to try that out with somebody else and try that out with your band. So it's like, okay, might not seem like it's going to work out, but let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And next thing you know, all of a sudden you might potentially have your best song on hand and that you're making right then and there. You never know, but it's always good to try.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you 100 on that. I mean, and I feel like your outlook on that is evident with our music.
Oh, easily. Now, because we have Cody's take, we have Casey's take, I feel like we'll jump over to Mr. Nirvana shirt himself. So, Shane, when it came to...
I obviously love Nirvana, but I think the two biggest influences... I love Michael Jackson as well, but as far as like making me want to pick up an instrument and play, the biggest band would have to be The Used for me. When I saw them, The Used.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. When I saw them, I was like, that's what I want to do. But yeah.
Interesting. Okay, Macon, you're the last one. Youngest for last. Or should we go with age before beauty? I mean, we can always go that route.
Easy.
Hey, I mean, if it's a compliment, I'll take it. The first two Alice in Chains records, Facelift and Dirt. The first 4 Metallica albums, any Pantera. I was into the heavier stuff. Reason I like the Alice in Chains so much, it was the heavier side of grunge. I've always been into heavy stuff, man. My dad, whenever I was little, he played in a bunch of cover bands, and I remember one night pretty clearly, my mom took me out there, and she sat me up on his drum set, and I was like, "This is the coolest shit ever." And I was like 3 years old, but I remember it clear as day, man. It was awesome.
I'm thinking when I have kids, it's going to be me putting them up on a drum set and be like, this could be you one day. And just let them go nuts. And all of a sudden the band would come over and say, hey, why the hell is that kid beating on those drums? Like, come on, he's 2 years old. He can't do too much damage. All of a sudden, yeah, he broke the sticks. Well, then that's definitely my kid because I drummed for a couple of years. And the amount of times I broke snare drum heads was ridiculous. I just like smashed right through those things. I think I had to replace it like 4 or 5 times in the span of 4 years.
Yeah.
Music is a very expensive hobby. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. And then not only that, but like on the flip side of it, where it's the stuff that I'm doing too, trying to like do all the advertising stuff, all the software and hardware that I need for this kind of stuff. Yeah, it ain't that cheap either. If you want quality, it's not going to be cheap.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. But now there's one question after hearing all those influences. I'm hearing a lot of like grunge influences, a lot of some hardcore. What was that?
Linkin Park too.
Oh God, yeah. Get some good old Chester Bennington there. Get some more new metal vibes in there. But where I was going with this is, especially after listening to the your song "Arise" again. That's right now as we're making this podcast, recording this, the only song that is available on Spotify, Apple Music. The video's on YouTube. We will get into that definitely in a little bit, but where I'm going with this is, especially hearing those influences, I'm hearing influence from like groove metal, a lot of thrash metal, a lot of grunge, and then Casey, who's just like the grab bag of the whole entire thing. Especially if you're listening to Arise and hearing like kind of diving deep and seeing like some of the influence that you guys put online as well. You definitely have more of like a hard rock vibe, especially to Arise as well. So taking a look at some of the influences you guys had listed, I think Alter Bridge was one of them, Shine Down, Seven Dust, Breaking Benjamin, 3 Days Grace, Seether. So how did you form this kind of sound, especially with this kind of a song? And is this a sound that we can expect going forward? Or is there going to be something more dynamic, especially given the fact that you guys have influences in a much more metal background and grunge background as well?
Dynamic.
I feel like Arise, the reason we decided to release Arise as our first single is because I felt like that song was we all kind of talked about it because I'm sure you hear a lot of bands say this, that all of their songs sound different. And I can say that with complete confidence with these other guys. None of our 2 songs, I mean, there might be some similar tastes with them being from the same artist, obviously, but most every one of our songs has you can tell where the influences come from in each song.
We definitely have some heavier screaming stuff.
Oh, yeah. Arise was like that comfortable that comfortable middle ground. Like, this is kind of a little bit of everything to expect. And then we can just kind of go either way from there. That was a safe choice for a first single, we felt like. So.
All right, very fair enough, because one of the bands I had on recently, they were my 100th episode, they're a band called Fight Like Sin. We were going over one of their songs called Never Surrender, and it had more of this like real anthemic rock quality to it. And when I was talking to them about, they're like, they had the same exact kind of concept, whereas like, this is one of our more popular songs, but if people get into the band, this is one that we're going to kind of show them to, because it's right down the middle of what you can expect from us, where it's not going to be, you're going to expect this from us all the time. What we're saying is, like, if you like the harder stuff, it has some of those harder rock tendencies in there. So they do go hard. They do kind of go with a little bit more some hardcore stuff, some metalcore stuff in there, but they have a chance to go softer as well for other people as well. So it's just, the dynamic is there, but it's like, okay, I can see what you guys did on Arise as well, where it's like, this is going to be the first one we release. What do we want to do? We want to show kind of the middle ground to the point where we can go softer or we can go a lot harder at the same time as well. But we're trying to find something that's going to get people not only into the song and into our music, but also show them that there's plenty more to come.
Right. And a little fun fact about Arise, that was actually the first song that I wrote getting into this project that would become To Begin Anew. And as Macon said earlier, he actually plays the guitar. I play rhythm and sing. So out of our working set list right now, that's actually the only song that I have a guitar solo on. Everything else is Macon. So I usually don't solo. So that solo on that song's about as good as it gets from me. So.
Oh God, then when we really go through this, then I'm gonna have a very interesting take on this. Now I'm not sure if this is gonna make Cody feel incredible or if it's gonna make it feel like, oh, you got to be kidding me. But that's just kind of funny. That's kind of a precursor for that. But when it came to Rise, I saw taking a look at like when it was released. You guys released it on the 4th of July. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Question for that is just why, given the fact that it was on a Saturday this year, and normally when new releases come out like this, they're usually out on a Friday. However, I mean, I'm just curious as to what the reason was behind the July 4th release date. Nothing bad about it. I'm just curious to hear the answer.
I mean, there really was no reason. We wanted to try to. We had been teasing that we were going to be releasing some material soon, and going forward, we're going to take a little bit more time. But everybody kind of knew that we were coming out with something, and we were all so anxious to go ahead and try to release some material so we could start getting something other than just my YouTube videos where I was telling people, hey, we've got new music coming, we got new music coming. We were eager to go ahead and get it out. So it just so happens like maybe 4 or 5 days before we released it, we actually had the final mix in our hand. So we had thought about trying to push a little bit more. I was like, guys, we've been pushing this for like a month, so we need to get drop this sucker. And I was like, let's just do it on 4th of July. Let's just do it. I mean, why not?
Right there.
Times just lined up. It fell into a pretty good spot.
So that's actually not a bad idea. I was just curious to see again what the answer was going to be, given the fact that I've never really seen a lot of people go for a straight July 4th release date. And I think if you weren't independent, you worked with a record company, they would have been highly against that. To the fact like, oh, it's not going to do well in its first day because it's the 4th of July. People are going to be out just like driving, like on boating, doing whatever the hell they feel like, especially on a normal 4th of July kind of weekend. Even though this year was kind of wacky, but and then they're like, oh yeah, you're going to be drinking, listening to country music because apparently that's the 4th of July right now, especially here in Wisconsin. It's just like, okay, go to a lake and start listening to country music. Myself, I show up at my friend's house. Everyone was kind of just chilling, relaxing. I show up wearing a Black Rise Against t-shirt. Everyone's like, oh boy, here we go.
Wait, it's the same here. It's just the ocean, not a lake.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But hey, same thing. However, it seems like it did work out rather well due to the fact that if you take a look at Spotify right now, I got to pull it up. As I am currently recording this, as I'm looking at it, overall streams for Arise, you have almost 6,600. You're at 6,589 at this current moment.
Yeah, we're pretty stoked. I mean, we pushed it hard. I mean, a lot of what we've done, again, we haven't been able to get out and play shows. So, I mean, everything that we've been doing has pretty much been between the band page, our individual pages, and just reaching out to people that we know. And, I mean, I knew that I had high expectations for Rise. I felt like it was going to do good just because it was that medium ground song where I just thought that if you're not into like metal or you're not into hard rock or soft rock, it was a perfect medium where if you just enjoy rock music as a genre, this would be a song that you could get behind. And I had high hopes for it, but Arise has done way better than what I had initially thought. I'm super proud of the way it's turned out. And thanks to everybody who's listened to it. We really appreciate it.
It's a very radio friendly song. It's like you said, it's the perfect middle ground.
Oh yeah, it's especially not only for a radio like something like Sirius XM Octane again, where I saw you guys in that fan page, but like if you're gonna be playing on like just a standard rock radio station around where you guys are, or just anywhere across the country, it does have that very radio friendly sound where anyone could pick it up, and there's not going to be any objections to it. Like, oh, it's not hard enough, it's not soft enough, it's not alternative enough, or something lyrics wise like, oh, they said too many bad words. Kind of like I'm gonna bring a Falling in Reverse with Popular Monster, where no one wanted to play it, but all of a sudden because it got so popular, they were kind of forced to play it. Even though when he screams, "Where the fuck is your God now?" I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna freak out over that. I'm surprised people were playing it on the radio. But when I saw them live, this was about 3 months after that song came out, and no one was playing on the radio except for XM Octane. And then there was a station in Madison, Wisconsin that was playing on the radio like every single day in its entirety. Like, I don't think they didn't even use the clean version. They just kept it regular. I'm like, holy shit, that's the way to go. Like, that's a freaking radio station right there. Then I come back to Milwaukee and I'm like, yeah, whatever I do, don't listen to the radio. Grab out that good old trusty dusty iPod. Yes, I said iPod, not phone, because I don't really like my phone battery being drained from all the streaming. And then just turn it on, turn on my car. All of a sudden, let the little like FM transmitter pick it up on Bluetooth. Hit play. Roll down my windows, and I did this yesterday. Rolled down my windows at like 6 a.m. as I was at a stop and go light, ready to go to the gym. Somebody came up next to me. They were trying to blast music, and I was just started playing the final episode by Asking Alexandria. So I just looked at me, I just went like, "Oh my god!" and just went kind of. I had too much fun with that one, but that's me when it comes to the radio. I kind of have a little of a problem with it, just because I think they play too much of the same stuff over and over again. They don't play some of the hard stuff that I like. However, with Arise, though, Arise does have that definite middle ground where it's something where I could easily see this being played on something like Sirius XM Octane, and I could see it easily being played on many different rock stations around the country.
Thank you. That it's where we wanted it to be, so thank you.
All right, so let's dive even deeper into this song. So first things first is, when it comes to the song, what was the inspiration behind writing this song, and what was the inspiration behind the meaning of the lyrics?
So the best way that I've kind of put it into a nutshell, the song Arise is basically, if there would be a way that I could say what the band name meant, the song Arise is the meaning of that. So to break that down, it's pretty much a way to, it's telling you to find yourself, break away from the normal, that you have so much more potential than whatever you're settled in now. Break away from anything that confines you, and use that leverage to arise and become the best version of yourself.
Yeah, don't let anything hold you down.
It's kind of like when your parents are telling you need to go to college and get a 4-year degree and get a desk job or something like that. It's like, fuck that shit. I'm going to go do my own thing, and we're going to see how far I can go.
That's the 19-year-old interpretation of it.
That's not only the 19-year-old interpretation, but it's like the Gary Vaynerchuk interpretation of it, and that's kind of the inspiration why I started the whole entire thing too, with the podcast, with the My Song of the Day stuff. It was just because like I did do a 4-year degree. However, I did in 3.5 years because I graduated a semester early. So, haha, out there, everybody, look at me go. But as I went forward, it's just like, go. It's like that standard, go get a college degree, or it's like grow up, get a college degree, get a job, find somebody, get married, have kids, buy some shit, retire, move to Florida, and die. I was like, that is definitely not the lifestyle for me. It just, nothing seemed like, everything seemed too I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say easy, but it just seemed too uninspired. That's the perfect word for it. So it's just, what I wanted to go for was just something completely different. And all of a sudden it was someone talking like Gary Vaynerchuk, when it's talking about business, but also talking about regret at the same time as well, where it's something where you go and talk to a lot of older people, and say you go to a nursing home, because I did this with my grandpa when I was younger, when he was in the hospital at the VA. And you would talk to some of the other people that were there, and you start talking about stuff that they did when they were younger, when they were working, when they had kids and whatnot. And then they start talking about the stuff they wish they did. And when you look in their eyes and you see that regret in their eyes, it is the most powerful thing in the world, because it's something that oh yeah, it's something that they can't change. It's something that it's like they wish they did it. And when it comes to Rise, it's like, going against that and going and doing what your dream, like going after your dream and putting it all out there. Because could you succeed? Yes. Could you fail? Yes. But the fact of the matter is by the time you get to that certain age where it's like you're looking back on it, you're never gonna have that regret. You're never gonna have that what if moment due to the fact that you gave it a shot. And if you were good enough at it, then bing bang boom, you're good enough at it, and your dream worked out. But if all of a sudden, like, you tried it out, and after a while you're like, okay, this isn't what I want to do, then you can change it up. No big deal. But the fact of the matter is you're never going to be playing that what if game. And then when you get older, potentially sitting in a nursing home at 90 years old, yelling at the TV because Wheel of Fortune isn't working, right? I mean, I don't really know how, if Wheel of Fortune will be on by then. I mean, they might have a Pat Sajak robot by then. But when you're going to be thinking about your past, you're going to be thinking about the things you did, not the things that you wish you did.
Right.
Well, I think this song could speak, coming from where, I've just got out of high school and everything. I think this song could speak to the popular kids, the football players, the athletes, and it could also speak to like the band geeks or the kids that don't really play
outcasts.
Yeah, outcasts basically. I feel like it could speak to the athletes because, well, it's a rise, do the best you can, but it could also, for me, I feel like it goes stronger towards the outcasts because everybody is all, we played this awesome game the other night. I don't understand why the attention doesn't come to the band kids at all or the outcasts because they matter too. I play music. I don't play football. I play music.
Don't ever settle. There's always something more that you can do with yourself.
Don't let somebody
in one way, shape, or the other. That's if you could break it down into a few simple words. Don't ever settle with what you have now. There's always room for improvement to yourself in one way, shape, form, or the other.
And don't ever let anyone tell you that no, you can't do it because yes, you can do it. You just gotta try.
I felt like I had a few people I called friends, and they always pick on me because I play guitar. Like, you're going to be a school shooter or something like that because you like heavy metal music. I'm like, dude, that doesn't make any fucking sense. That's an outlet for me.
It's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. It was because when I was in high school, too, it was like my freshman year. I ended up getting along with a lot more of the kids that listen to the heavier music. And one of my good friends, my freshman year of high school, the reason we got along was because even though I played soccer and I kind of had more of that like preppy kind of vibe to me, my favorite band at the time was Disturbed. Like, I absolutely loved Disturbed, and I went to a Catholic high school too, so everyone thought I kind of was like English at the same time too. Then when I was in middle school, that's when I really got into Disturbed. Like the teachers would send my theology teacher sent a letter home to my mom, really like expressing concern about where I was going in life because I was listening to Disturbed because I had the Indestructible CD with me one day, and. Yeah, and my mom wrote a letter back just saying, yeah, I bought that CD for him. What? And I was like, there we fucking go. But this one kid, it was the reason we got along because I love Disturbed. He loved Slipknot. And it was just, we got along just based off of that. And it was something where I take a look now, people put everything out online. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever the hell you're on, they're going to put it out online. And I constantly am seeing a lot of the people that I knew back then, like especially in high school, that I went to high school with, where it's just, if they're happy with it, more power to them. But for myself, I keep seeing it's like they're basically living that, that go to college. Oh, shit, there goes my camera.
It's like a stagnant lifestyle. I mean, if they're happy with it, cool.
Yeah, just give me 1 sec because I'm not surprised that actually happened. Let's give it a shot again. Okay, come on. And now I'm mad because this is like the docking station I have for all this stuff. It just, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes I am not happy about it at all.
That's technology for you.
This isn't the first time it happened though, too, because there was one time I was doing an interview with someone from Australia at I think it was that's not the right camera. And that is definitely not the right camera. So, hi guys. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
And I got to make sure my mixer is still working. Yeah, it's still going. I just want to make sure of that. But okay, yeah. So what I was saying was they were playing that very safe lifestyle. And when I keep looking, I'm like, that's not the lifestyle that I want. That's not what I want to go for. Like, I want to go for what I want to do and just kind of focus on that.
They'll tell you they regret not trying something else when they were younger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah, they do. But then again, I'm taking a look at it and thinking, especially from Ariza's standpoint as well, I can see why it's someone that's more for that, outcast kind of thing, especially if you think of it in a high school setting, because you go after high school, there's so much more out there. If you go to college as well and you say you're that outcast, you're going to find a group of friends that share those similar interests with you. And then when it comes down to it, no one gives a shit if you were popular in high school. After high school, it's like that. That's like the worst possible thing to do is just kind of rest on those laurels. Like, oh yeah, I was in high school. I was popular. I was the cool guy. Once you're a freshman year in college, it's like that is.
Now you're fat. Well.
Yeah, it's like that's the worst possible thing. It's just like all of a sudden you peaked in high school. Congratulations.
Right.
Yeah.
And then for everyone else out there, it's just like, okay, now that we're past that point where it's just like in that social bubble for 4 years where it's like it's a certain construct, either you fit in or you don't. That's it. After that, it's just you break out, and all of a sudden there could come a point where all of a sudden I'll use Macon as an example, because if people are giving you a hard time, like, oh, son, oh, you play guitar, you like heavy music, or you shoot up at school, it's like, you know what? First off, fuck that shit, because that's completely untrue. Second off, there could easily come a time where all of a sudden, let's say all of a sudden, the pandemic is over, you guys start playing live shows, and the band really takes off like that. You want to know what's going to happen? I can tell you right now. You're going to have those kids from high school that kept like making fun of you for that. They're going to be the ones that go trying to brag to their friends and brag to everyone else that they knew you in high school. That's going to be their thing is, I went to high school with Macon To Begin Anew. That's going to be the thing that they're like try and use to impress people. And you're going to be sitting there thinking,
I honestly think it's already happening a little bit, Kevin. His head's getting a little bit big because of it. So don't make it any worse.
Hey, they're not going to come over and party on my yacht, okay?
He said we're the appetizer and he's the main course meal.
Yeah, he might be nice on camera. He's a complete asshole.
Look.
Not rolling.
They're 30 years old, okay? They've been in this game a whole lot longer than me. I learned this shit from them. I'm just trying to survive over here, and that's how I do it.
Oh, God. I knew bringing up the question about what that song is about was going to bring up something. I had no idea that we were going to get into that, but that is just awesome as all hell. This is what I love about this podcast. It's the random stuff that comes up, random shit, whatever it is. Like, this is what we're talking about. Get in deep with this stuff. Yeah. And now I'm like super amped up about that. Okay, maybe I'll take the energy down a little bit. Nah, fuck that. I'm not taking energy down. That's no fun.
Be you, man. Be you.
All right, but I'm definitely not smacking my head on the table again because that will cause the camera to go again. And I'm not dealing with that crap. I'm just not.
No.
Okay, so going back into Arise as well. So we talked about the meaning with it, but when it came to constructing the song in the way that you guys did with more of that hard rock feel, what was the inspiration behind that reasoning?
To me, musically, with the lyric, because the way I usually write songs is I'll try to come up with the music aspect of it first, and then I always try to write a chorus first, because in my mind the chorus that's your hook, that's your most important part. Yeah. So I'll write the music first, I'll write the chorus, and then I'll kind of fill the verses out around it. So I come up with the musical content before the lyrics, and that point that we spoke about earlier, just that's what just kept the music was speaking to me about that point. So I wrote the chorus, and then I based the rest of the story around it. So I mean, it was that's really what it was. I mean, the music made that point. I just had to find the right words to put into it.
He's a very good poet. Also, I mean, I've read some of his lyrics on other songs, and he writes about some very heavy topics. Man, it's intense.
One thing that I just from years of writing music, Kevin, I always like. If there was a way you could see my lyric book, to me, it flows better if you write your music in a poem, almost like a poetic form. Your music has got a little bit of a repetition to it, obviously. And then your lyrics, to have those rhymes, just adds to your hook. So you could take my lyrics out of the song and just read it as if it's a poem. It flows better to me like that. You see a lot of people, I'm not knocking people that don't use a rhyme scheme for songs by any means, because there's some awesome songs out there that don't have a rhyme scheme. But for me, I like to have that rhyme scheme. To me, it makes the lyric content flow better. And it just tells a better story to me.
I mean, that all, especially when it comes to writing lyrics in that style, it all depends upon personal preference as well, whether you're using a specific rhyme scheme or you're not going to use a rhyme scheme. Plus, it all depends upon what the instrumentation is calling for as well, because there's a lot of times where bands do use those rhyme schemes and it just adds to the impact of the hooks that these songs have. And sometimes those transitions from verse to chorus, verse to pre-chorus, or chorus out to like this post-chorus or into the verse bridge, whatever it might be. Sometimes those rhyme schemes really work out. Sometimes going without a rhyme scheme, going more freeform on it does work as well. However, one thing I will mention on that is I would like to see that lyric book at some point, due to the fact that I'm always fascinated by this when it comes to creating music, due to the fact that you can kind of see the process behind everything. You can really dive deep into understanding how these songs came about. And when it comes to writing at the same time as well, man, a lot of bands I've talked to, it's just like the poetry behind it is incredible. Really seeing how these things formulate, and then also the words that are used to express points, especially when you're talking about something that is incredible. Like you're creating a song that has an incredibly personal message and you're telling it through your personal experiences, it's really incredible to see how these lyrics and how these words come to the forefront to explain something that might be incredibly tough to explain normally. I'll say take depression as an example. So for myself, just I'm going to use this in context. Myself 3 years ago, I went through the worst period of time in my life where nothing seemed to go right. I was depressed as all hell. I did try to take my life 4 different times. Just not good, we'll put it that way. But now completely different. However, this year there was a song that came out by a band called Polaris called Above My Head. And just the way that the song sounded, plus you take a look at the lyrics as well, it describes that feeling of depression and just feeling like you can't go anymore because you're too far and like you're too much above your head. Like you're too far and you can't reel yourself back. And just the feeling not only of the song, but also how those lyrics and how they're worded and how they're spoken or just sung at points as well. Just how they kind of mesh against each other. It really stands out. And it's just something that allows not only the artist to express themselves, but allows the audience to connect to the artist and also gives a feeling that is really hard to explain, a tangible feeling.
Absolutely.
Man, I went on a rant on that one, but that's usually what I do anyway.
No, you're good, man.
I'm glad you're still here and doing what you do for the bands, man. I thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. It took a while, but honestly, I'll put it this way. It was because of all of that. That was the inspiration to start this, because one of the biggest reasons why I kind of hated myself just because of the job I was in. I'm like, again, is we were talking about with our eyes, where it's just like that. Okay, got out of college, I'm in a job, and I absolutely hated it. And my question was, is this what life is going to be like the rest of the way? Is this what I have to get used to? Is this how I have to live? Is just, constantly doing the same thing over and over again, hating myself because I'm just doing something so that I can get somewhere, get to the next step where it's like, okay, now I've got a job now. Okay, so make some money so I can save up, buy a house, get a girlfriend, get married, have some kids, get a puppy, retire, move to Florida, buy some, and then waste away the clock. Like, no, that just wasn't, like, I knew that wasn't for me, and I had to find some way to not only get through all those depressive feelings and kind of understand how that transition from where I had all this freedom in college, all of a sudden where it's like I kind of was following that just very cookie cutter path in life after college. How am I gonna understand those things, and how am I gonna break away from that? And from that came all of this. So, I mean,
Nice.
It was kind of, in the end, it's weird to say this, but it was kind of worth it.
Good.
At least you found yourself from that dark place, and you're where you're at now. So, kudos and congratulations on that, man.
Well, thank you guys. And one thing that helped me out tremendously during that point is music. So that's why I do a lot of this too, because it's listening to music and just listening to people speak about their personal experiences in music and just give, like I said, tangible feelings to those things that are incredibly hard to describe. Where it's like, well, how did it feel like when you were going through something like this? Listen to this song and you will feel it. All of a sudden it's like, well, how did you...
Music's always been the cheapest form of medication in my mind. I mean, I'm sure I can vouch for everybody here. We've all had experiences in our life that's been tough. I mean, as anybody would. And I mean, it's easy for me to say. I mean, music has got me out of places that no type of therapy or medication or anything like could ever come close to.
Universal language, and
kept you from going down some dark paths.
Yeah, and no matter what genre you like, I don't know anybody who doesn't like music, no matter what genre or what type of music they listen to. It's like every human being likes music. It's kind of spiritual.
Yeah, because you never get a question of, do you like music or not? The question's always, what's your favorite kind of music? There's never a question of if you like it or not. And so that makes a lot of sense. But then when it came down to it too, because like what Cody was saying, like there is like, it's something that could be even more effective than like medication, because even when I was going through all that stuff, there was a point in time where, I mean, I'll put it this way. Sleeping like 2 hours a night was a good amount of night sleep. Like there was times where I wouldn't sleep at all at night. And I went to my doctor to figure out, okay, is there something that's physically wrong before I pursue other options to try and figure out exactly if there's nothing physically wrong, then I know it's all mental and how can I fix that? And the doctors wanted to put me on antidepressants. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. But there's nothing physically wrong with me. No, it's just, he's like, it's just might be a chemical imbalance. We're going to give you antidepressants so you can sleep. I'm like, but that doesn't help me anything. That doesn't help me out at all. What it's going to end up doing is it's going to end up just changing the chemistry in my brain around completely to the point where I'm just going to be this like medicated zombie in a way. And I didn't want that. So wrote the prescription, everything. I went and filled it, and I'm like, just because I went to go get it just in case something happened. But like I had it, and I was just sitting there staring at it, and I ended up flushing them all down the toilet that same night because I was just like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not doing this. And then it's like, okay, how do I get through these days? How do I get through those horrible times? How do I get through those days where all of a sudden I'm at work and I just do not want to go forward anymore and just kind of want to give up? And I'm looking down because I was in the top floor, and we had like this the office I worked in had this open spot where we basically went down the bottom floor, and I would look down and think, what would happen if I jumped today? And there was times where it's like, how do I get past that? And how do I make sure I still have the motivation just to go one more day and just keep fighting? All of a sudden, put in the earbuds, start playing songs like Not Gonna Die from Skillet or Attack from 30 Seconds to Mars. And it just kind of had me amped up like, okay, keep going one more, keep going one more. To the point where all of a sudden it was, all right, you're building on something, keep going. Just don't relent, keep going. To the point where now I listen to those songs, it's just like, it's a reminder that I made it kind of thing.
That's awesome, man.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really... It's a really good kind of case study going back and just kind of remembering if you ever get to a certain point in life like that you can go to the music and also just kind of, again, use it to your advantage. Even when things are going good and you need a little bit more of that amp up feeling to it, just go to the music that helped you get through that, and you're going to remember that, and you're going to get motivated to all hell to go and do whatever you need to do. And it could be anything. It could be something as simple as you just got a project you got to work on. You're trying to go for a promotion. Hell, you're super nervous to propose to your girlfriend or something, and you listen to one of those songs, and you're just going to be like, alrighty, let's do this. Nothing stopped me today, and then bing, bang, boom, all good to go. It can be used for anything like that.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And listening to Arise, especially with the meaning and the way the instrumentals sound, especially for someone like myself, that could easily be one of those songs. Do not get me wrong. It could easily fit in with those songs that I just mentioned where it comes to that feeling of just amped up, just you can get like whatever is keeping you down, whatever is, maybe not going so well. Yeah, you can easily get through it. It's on you, but you got this.
Right.
That's probably the best way I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I always like hearing other people's interpretation of our music because, you can have a dead set mind in what you want it to mean, but then another person, their meaning could be completely different, but still yield that positive result. So that's awesome.
Well, kind of one other thing too is it's just because everyone's had different experience. Everyone gains meaning from songs in different ways. However, it's the end point is usually the same. It's the direction that we get there is different.
Right. Absolutely.
So there's other songs too where I talk to people and I like other songs that I absolutely love that other people love it for the exact same like end point or reason. But then the reason how you got there always depends upon personal experience. And it could be something that like where my reasoning is a lot more direct and their reasoning comes way out of left field. However, when you get to that end point of the song and what it basically means for you at its most general, I would say, they're pretty much the exact same.
For sure.
So it's always interesting. It's kind of like the interesting part is in the fine details of the explanation.
Right.
I'll go with that. All right, but not only did like thinking about like the meaning of Rise, I also went really deep in trying to deconstruct the song for myself so that also for anyone who hasn't heard it, first off, go and listen to it after the podcast though. But I also did a real deep dive into it to try and understand the song from an instrumental standpoint, see if we could pick out any influences in there and really give you guys a very analyzed look at the song as well. And I do this with not only you guys, but I've done this with every other band I've ever had on here. Like I really dive deep in music to try and understand it. So, and see where parts I like, also talk about where parts where I really liked it. If there's parts where I was like, okay, maybe it wasn't the best in my standpoint, I'll bring those up, but I always bring them up with context at the same time as well. I have had a band come on here where they sent me one of their songs to see if I liked it. Not gonna lie, I really didn't like it. And I and I had him on the podcast, and I blatantly I had him on the podcast, and we blatantly talked about it. And I was like, yeah, I didn't like it. And then I'm like, but you have this other song that I want to dive into because I like that one a lot more. So it was like, I'm giving you, but then also when I talked about how I didn't like that one, it's like, I also gave reasons, like 3 reasons why, and then context behind all those reasons. Like, well, for me, I like this kind of style more. I resonate more with this. So when I hear something like this, I'm more standoffish on it. That's kind of how I always worked with it. And just got to be honest, that's pretty much it.
Honesty is the best policy.
All it is constructive.
Yeah, and you're not going to please.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to please everyone because everyone's different. So
Exactly.
as long as at the end of the day, as you're doing what makes you happy, that should be really all that matters. Even if no one likes our music, at the end of the day, I'm happy with it. So I mean, that's it.
Well, you guys I'll say you guys almost got 6,600 streams on this one song on Spotify. I'm pretty sure at least some people like it.
Yeah, and the videos hit over 1,000 already too.
Yeah,
actually got. I don't know how involved you saw. Have you actually seen the video, Kevin?
I have seen the video, and the video is included in my whole entire write-up of the song as well, because that's how I ended the write-up. It was like, I listened to the song, like, I think it had to be like 5 or 6 times to really get it down path, and then I watched the video to also connect with how the video connects with the song as well, because I did that with one other band as well. I mentioned earlier with Rebelmatic, because they had this video for their song Insult to Injury, and I listened to the song first, and then I watched the video with the song, and I keep telling people with that one, it's like, you have to watch the video with that song as well, because it's going to give you the full context behind the song. It's going to add so much more power, so much more vigor to it, and it's going to hit you in such a different way. I mean, you're going to hear it, and you're going to feel those. If you listen to it outright, yeah, you're going to feel it, but you're not going to get that impactful feel that you get if you don't watch the video.
Right. Yeah, within 3 days of us releasing that video, it already had over 1,000 views, so we were pleased with that. I mean, that was awesome.
It was awesome.
Well, now I'm going to make sure we get the right number on it at this current moment, though. At this current moment, because by the time this releases, there's definitely going to be more on there. So let's see what we got in terms of total views. Right now, after it's been out since August 14th, and we're recording this, again, for everybody, August 23rd? Yeah, 23rd. 1,366 views with 123 likes. Well, I should say there's 122 likes and one coming from this guy and 2 downvotes. So whoever gave you the downvotes, kind of curious as to see why they gave you the downvotes. But
yes,
well, and with the top comment being, I absolutely love this. Amazing. I'm so proud of my boy Shane.
Shane has his own fan base, so that's a plus having him in the band as well. So
there's another one. Who's this skinny mechanic on guitar?
Hey, that is actually a good friend of mine. He's just a shit poster.
Hey, that's a good shit post though, because
yeah,
I tried to make sure that we all tried to reply to like every comment we got to at least say thank you.
You didn't reply to that.
I had no idea how to reply to that when I'm making. I was like, I give my heart. I mean, thank you. I don't know.
Hey, especially with the band growing and like in the stage where you are right now, yeah, replying to all those comments is imperative and is a huge thing to do, because it just shows a connection to the fans at the same time as well. If you hear a lot of people talk about it,
if you don't have them listening to your music, then I mean, why are you even doing it? So you need to maintain a relationship with anybody that if they have a relationship with your music and connect with you as an artist, then you need to have a connection with them for appreciating your art. I mean, that's just a given.
Hey, you should have said that's our star child.
Oh, very understandable. But now it's time to, from my standpoint, let's crack the. Oh, no knuckle crack. I gotta have to like pull them to crack them. But let's deconstruct this song for the people, shall we? Because when I listened to it, the first thing I noticed was, because it starts out what seems like an acoustic strumming style played on the electric guitar into something that has a lot fuller, that I called fuller rock glory. And when the intro really gets going, the guitars have a tone to them that's more like a middle ground in terms of like the heaviness and the lightness, so it's rather in the middle, but it has a distortion that just screamed out a band to me whenever I listen to it. It just screamed out a certain band, and that band was Alter Bridge. And even the drumming maintains the pacing and to make this very effective. And I could honestly see that there had to be some sort of Mark Tremonti influence in this song, just given the way the guitars were constructed for the intro. And this is in the first 15 seconds of the song, and I was like, that was one of the first things I thought of was like, huh, guitar, Mark Tremonti. Kind of sounds like there's some influence in there. Done well.
Big Alter Bridge fan right there.
Cody has a small shrine.
No, in 2008, I discovered Alter Bridge, and they were another one of those bands. Like whenever I started playing guitar, it was just I heard "Open Your Eyes." It just, I mean, it lit me up. I mean, that song changed my life. I was like a freshman in high school, having to go through all those changes with life. And that song come out, it was another one of those hits. And I mean, I've been a fan of them ever since. I mean, I love that band. Them and Shinedown, and they're awesome.
It's like Creed, but good.
Yeah, like Casey said, it's like Creed, but good.
I'll say I can thank the WWE for introducing me to Alter Bridge, thanks to Edge having Metalingus as his intro music. And I still remember every
Good
single
luck.
time. This is every single time. Like my brother and I, we'd play like SmackDown versus Raw, and we'd create a wrestler. No matter what, because I was like, okay, what intro music do you want? And they just let you pick from all the people, all the superstars that were on there. No matter what, it's like, okay, go to Edge, go to Edge, go to Edge, because he's got the best stuff.
Right.
Like, and then all of a sudden I was like 10 years old and I was like, oh, what's this band? And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, listen to Metalingus. Never really got too much further into them. All of a sudden started this. I'm like, okay, I'm listening to more Alter Bridge. Listen to Tremonti's solo project. All right, I'm down for it. All of a sudden, then last October, okay, here comes Walk the Sky. I looked at the album artwork. I'm like, okay, if this album is as good as the album artwork, we've got an incredible gem on our hands. Then I listened to the album.
Yeah. To me, they're like wine, man. They get better and better in every album they put out.
I was gonna say, I listened to the album. I sat there, and then 2 months later, I had my like year-end awards come out for like best song, best album, that kind of stuff. By the time best album came around, it was like, okay, now it's time for number one. And next thing you see next to me, you just start seeing the Walk the Sky artwork just start like shining through. It's just like, yeah, that was the best one of the year, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean that CD. That's one thing that's really cool about Alter Bridge is that they're one of those bands. I feel like they have a consistent sound, but they're not scared to step outside of their normal to do something different and experiment. And I mean, all of their stuff, even if it is different than their normal, it sounds amazing. They're not scared to experiment. It's evident in the music.
Oh God, no! Even when they have Tremonti come in and sing instead of Miles Kennedy as well, because it gives the song just an added flair to them too. Even though
Mark is an amazing singer himself. I mean, his own project Tremonti. I mean, he writes killer music on his own as well.
I've seen both his Tremonti solo project live, and I've seen Alter Bridge live as well. And when I saw Tremonti live, they were opening for 10 years, and not gonna lie, that wasn't the best idea because when 10 years came on, everyone was like amped up from after Tremonti's set, and 10 years just did not live up to the expectations that Tremonti set. It's like, oh man, it's so hard to follow the guy. But then when I saw Alter Bridge, it was right before the shutdown happened and they had Clint Lowry with his solo project opening for them. So I'm like, okay, we're getting some really good guitarists here. And then watching Alter Bridge the whole entire time, like I'm enjoying the music, but the concerts I usually go to and enjoy, I'm usually getting hurt at those things. I'm usually in a mosh pit getting beat the hell up, black eyes, cut over my eyes, almost breaking my nose, that kind of stuff. Alter Bridge, I'm just standing around with a bunch of like 40-year-olds jamming out rock, and I'm like, okay, I gotta find a way where I can enjoy this that's not mosh pit induced. And I'm just sitting there watching Tremonti play the guitar. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Like seriously, dude, how?
He's
and then
a killer.
Oh yeah, and then hearing like just from that intro of Arise as well, just hearing the certain tones on it. And if I'm thinking Mark Tremonti, I'm like, okay, we're definitely in for something here. So we got to just keep going. I'm like, and I kept looking at the time on the song. I'm like, okay, we're in the intro, 15 seconds in. I'm thinking this. I'm like, and we've got another like 5.5 minutes to go. Holy crap! What the hell's gonna come next? Like I'm just waiting for it. So then we jump into the verses in the song further, and you kind of keep up with what the intro did, and then the second half, but you take away some of the impact of the distortion. And I like this move specifically because it allows the vocals from Cody to really take charge as the prominent part of the song and really complement the emotion and the vibe that the vocals are providing on the track here with what the instrumentation is. So overall, the verses were constructed to kind of like change up halfway through a little bit, but kind of keep that same emotion. Thought that was a great move.
Thank you. We had some different things in mind, and if it's in your notes, if you've already made that observation about that first verse, I'm sure you picked on. But if you divide the verses into two sections, if you take both verses and divide them into two sections each piece is different.
Yeah.
So it gradually adds on as it goes, and I like that build on it. It keeps building on towards the end of the song.
Yeah, it's I've seen bands with a reverse build. I've seen bands with a build like that as well. I've seen other times where it's like a lot of times, you get like a start in the verses where it's low and it kind of builds up, and then you get a pre-chorus that just takes it all the way back down again, and then you get a chorus that amps up even more. And it all depends upon what the song is calling for and how that's gonna play off with each other, because there's sometimes where that stark contrast where you're building up in the verses and then you quickly drop it in a pre-chorus and then you amp it back up. There's times where that absolute contrast just makes both of those spots stand out. There's times where it just completely takes away from it. It all depends upon what the song is calling for. With what you guys did on this one, is you guys just kind of kept building and building and building up in it. And once you get to the chorus, because the pacing stayed a lot of the way the same as the verses did with the instrumentals, and the drums, in my opinion, really didn't change up that much. But where the change we got from the chorus, especially from the verses, was in the distortion from the intro. Specifically, was also on these chorus parts as well, where it wasn't in the verses. And the volume is also kind of tuned lower a little bit on the guitar, so the vocals shine. And I thought that was really interesting due to the fact that, especially with the way the intro sounded, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. They kind of letting like the vocals shine on this one. However, I'll get to the vocals in a little bit and how they amplified up, but I actually really liked how this worked out as well. And then after like the second chorus, because you kind of do that verse, chorus, then you go to this after second chorus, you transition to more of this like a bridge style piece that plays with that same distortion. And I liked it because it all depended upon what was to come next. So it was like there was a build up to it. So it was kind of like that. It was kind of that consistent like amplification, like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And now this is where I was kind of nervous, like how because you guys were talking to me about like inflating Macon's ego, but you said the guitar solo for this one was from Cody. So yeah, get ready for this one because I feel like that ego's for Macon's gonna go, but the one for Cody's gonna go. So we'll see how that goes. But
I can say in my defense, I'm a decent guitar player. I'm not any means going to say that I'm a great guitar player, but if you dug the solo on that song, then whenever we drop our next single, dude, you're going to be falling out of your chair because his solo on the next single is amazing.
Well, when I'm taking a look at exactly how I wrote it, I said the guitar solo is where the instrumentals really stand out on this song overall because the distortion is kept similar to the intro, but it's changed up just slightly to have more of this shredding tone to it overall. And though it's rather similar, it has just enough change to create a great deal of diversity to the song, taking a little bit more of that like less is more approach. But it was my favorite part of the song overall because it just amped up, it just led into it so perfectly and just amped it up the whole entire way through. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good stuff. And especially because before I really, like when I started listening to music and really started getting on my own, especially with some of the stuff as well, like I was always punk rock and hard rock. That was it. So when I hear that hard rock kind of style, I'm always big into it. Now I'm kind of also in more of that hardcore stuff because I'm a huge metalcore fan now as time has gone on. I mean, I'm taking a look around, like I've got like a Day to Remember poster up there with Under Oath. I've got a huge Ice Nine Kills poster up top. I've got again a little Spencer back there. But like I've gotten so much into it. So like I love the heavier, faster paced kind of style. But when I hear something that has that hard rock style to it, like this song did with Arise, damn, does it give me like that good flashback of like, man, I still love this stuff. This is great.
I've had someone else say flashback too. Like,
yeah, it's definitely got a taste of nostalgia to it for sure.
It's the slowest song we've got.
It is one of the slower songs that we have. Like,
well, I know we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, but our next single is going to be quite a bit. I'm not going to say quite a bit more aggressive. I mean, it's along the same lines. I mean, you'll be able to tell it's from the same band, but it's quite a bit more aggressive than what Arise is. Again, Arise was that comfortable, here we are song, and now we can turn the page and show you some other stuff that we've got.
It was like that happy medium song. The happy medium. Yeah. All right, now I got to ask you guys a question. When it comes to me talking about the vocals, do you think I'm going to inflate Cody's ego on this a lot, or do you think it's going to stay level, or do you think I'm just going to completely deflate it? I want to hear what you guys' predictions are for this.
Yeah, over the years, man, the whole ego thing for me has kind of gone out the window. Whenever I was younger in the previous bands, oh yeah, I thought my shit didn't stink, but I'm totally past that now, man. So.
Okay, well, how about this? Do you think he's going to smile after I give what I thought of his vocals, or do you think it's going to be a frown?
He's already smiling.
I mean, I can just like slowly get out of frame.
I have a feeling since you're asking this, it's probably going to make him cry just because you're asking.
I try not to be an emotional guy, so I mean, give me the truth, man. I can take it.
Alrighty, I'm going to go right off my note sheet on this one. Again, that's why my head is turned because I don't want to fuck up what I'm about to say. But I have for the vocals from Cody. Oh, I said Cordy. Oh, God. My voice is going. But vocals from Cody here are interesting. But what they are is driving the song when they are in play because the instrumentals are taking a backseat to the vocals, like I said they did in the verses. And then like the chorus because the volume on the guitar is a little bit dropped, so it lets the vocals kind of drive it. But it's when it comes to verses, when I listen to them, I can again see that alter bridge influence in there with something like Miles Kennedy, as Cody really takes influence from him when it comes to especially how the patterns are created here. And it really makes sense as, again, with the guitars taking influence from Mark Tremonti, so matching the patterns with that flow work, but this has to work with their own spin on it, especially for it to be unique. However, the uniqueness does come in how your vocals sound overall, because you work with those same patterns that Miles Kennedy has, but I'm not going to lie, your vocals aren't as elegant as Miles Kennedy's, nor is they as rough as someone like, let's say, Brent Smith from Shinedown. However, if you mix those two together, that's what I got. I'm like, this is a mix between like the Miles Kennedy flow and the Brent Smith like roughness, and you put them together, you kind of mesh them together, and all of a sudden, boom, this is what you get. And it really gave the song that elegant hard rock feel, but not as easily as transcendent as Miles would. However, where this is maximizing the emotion of the song is it provides more of an emotion to arise and get past what's in your way. It matches up with the instrumentation very well in the end, and this was, again, one of the major highlights of the song.
Nice.
Cool. Thanks, man. I mean, the singers you mentioned, you compared my voice to, I mean, that's definitely my two favorite singers, without a doubt. So for you to not know me personally and compare me to my two favorite singers, I mean, that's success. So thank you.
Just got a boner.
Yeah, and also I'll put it this way, just to quickly show you guys that, like, when I came to the note sheet for this stuff, just let me move the camera. Like, yeah, it's all right there.
Jesus Christ.
I had this written out since let's see, if probably, what day was that? Was that the 17th I wrote this on? Yeah, on the 17th. Like I've had this written for quite a while. I had no idea who you were, so looks like I knew what I was talking about. Yeah. And before I go through the overall of the song, because again, there is the music video for this, which came out on August 14th. So if you guys haven't watched it, what the hell, you gotta watch this video. But what was the inspiration behind the video as well? Because when I watched it, it seemed like a real classic music video, especially for a first one, because it was you guys what looked like you were playing like a warehouse practice space and just making it so that you guys are putting yourselves out there. This is who we are, kind of thing.
That's really what it was. We wanted to keep it simple, but keep it simple. Just let people focus on the song.
Yeah, that, and like Casey said, we're not playing shows yet, due to the circumstances with COVID, and we wanted to show people who we were. So,
I think the song Cody sent us, the music video was "Addicted to Pain" by Alter Bridge.
Ooh, yeah.
And that was the one that really influenced him on this.
I don't remember that one.
He sent it in the group.
I don't read it.
You don't respond in the group enough.
I don't.
We're actually really excited to record our next single, though, so that'll be done Saturday.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not excited for the next video though, because it was what 100, 120 degrees in there.
It was so hot.
It was so hot.
It's getting cooler now. It's getting it'll be, by the time they had the song finished and sent to us, I think it'll be cool off.
And we are releasing another video with our next single that we're recording next weekend. So.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully, like what Megan just said, where all of a sudden you're gonna get to the point where everything is mastered fully, everything is mixed properly for your next single. When they send it to you, it's like, okay, now it's time to make a video for this. Hopefully, it's not 120 degrees outside or 120 degrees inside that space, because I haven't. I mean, I'm not from where you guys are, because I know you guys are from North Carolina, where it's definitely warmer than it is here up in good old Wisconsin.
The humidity is
the
what's
weather
bad.
here is terrible.
I'll
It's
say
so wishy-washy. It'll be middle of January. Half the week it's low 30s. The next half of the week, low 70s. I mean, what the fuck? That's January. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, it's not 70 degrees in January.
I'll say in Wisconsin we kind of have a joke where it's like you can experience all four seasons in 1 week. I remember a couple of years ago it was on Sunday. It was I can't remember exactly what Sunday it was, but it snowed and it was cold. All of a sudden it was over the course of the week it got a little bit warmer, and by the time it was that next Saturday, again this is middle of February here in Wisconsin, it was 70 degrees. And we're like, what the hell? But sometimes it's like, okay, I'll even use this past year in 2019. It snowed on Halloween. It was 60 degrees on Christmas. It made no sense.
Wow.
Yeah. But speaking on the video with Arise, I'm surprised Casey didn't have a heat stroke because he was he had to be in every shot for playing drums for that video. And it was just so hot. And after every time he would get off the camera, he just put this bag of ice with a cloth over his head.
He wouldn't even come out to like get a drink of water. He just sit down behind his drum set against the wall and just like close his eyes and rest that bag on his head.
It took 8 hours to do that video, and we played that song at least 15 times. And I think I heard them tell you, I mean, it was every bit of 100 degrees. We done it in the airport hangar. And
you could definitely see the sweat glistening.
Yeah, it was a lifetime experience.
Oh, swimming!
It was a lifetime experience. It was awesome. That's the hottest I've ever been. No questions about it. Like for sure. I mean, I was probably the closest to death that I'll ever get until I actually die. So.
Hopefully, it's the closest you get to death till you actually die. But still, like taking a look at the video, like we were speaking about right before Cody went off screen for about maybe like a minute and a half. Like we were talking about how just kind of the style of it, where it's just you guys playing out there, especially with being the time of pandemic where you can't really go out and play live shows. And with this being your first real single being released and first video being released, you want to put something out there that says, you know, this is who we are, this is us, enjoy it kind of thing. And taking a look at how you spent this video. Entire thing shot in that airport hangar. Entire thing just you guys jamming out, having a good time. And again, what this video does is serves that first impression for people to see who the band is. And you didn't go the crazy route. You just went the This Is Us route and enjoy it. And why I like this is because you could see the passion that you guys have within your music. And it really stands out from the moment you see them right away from that first couple of seconds in the video. You can see them feel what they are putting out there, and it will always stick with the fans with that passion that you put out there, and just matching it with the song as well. You can just see it visually in that video.
Thank you.
That means a lot, man. We decided early on, you know, we decided we wanted a video for this song, but we wanted to keep it as straightforward, in your face, without any distractions. You know, we contemplated on doing some type of story, but we were like, why? We're not able to play shows. Let's just show everybody what this band is about. Let's give them an image. Let's give them an energy level. And let's just tell them what this song's about with no distractions. This is just us in our purest, rawest form. And let's just go with it.
It's kind of like an in-your-house performance, really.
Yeah, it kind of was. And then to wrap this all up with, because we talked about the instrumentation, vocals, the video. Overall, I really do like this song. It is almost 6 minutes of hard rock gold that you can see as this band already understands the songwriting process and how to match the vocals they have with the instrumentation style they work with and overall tone and pace. Great first effort from this band and look forward to see more. Also, I got to bring this up. If someone says, 6 minutes is too long, just revert them back to Bohemian Rhapsody and be like, if you think 6 minutes is long, I pity your wife.
Well, I mean, you got it on that one, man.
The song's so weird though, because when you're playing it does not.
It feels like
it doesn't drag
30 seconds pass by.
We have a tendency. I mean, we've tried to manage the way that we write our songs in a shorter format, but the thing, like they just said, you know, for it to be 5.5 minutes long, it doesn't feel that way because it's just it's consistent. There's no drag behind it, but you don't. I don't want to write a song that's just verse, chorus, end of song. I mean, you got to have a little bit more until you got to get the emotion. You got to get the story behind that moment in time across. And I mean, if it takes 5.5 minutes, then it's just going to have to take 5 minutes.
Plus
you can't cut it stuff.
I'll say, plus listening to this song when it comes to certain song lengths, there are songs where it's like I'll know exactly how long they are, but that's because they're on my workout playlist and I always have the timing down in my head every single time. It's like, okay, I'm running on a treadmill, and then all of a sudden something like Popular Monster comes on. I'm like, okay, I've got like 3:45 on this one already. All of a sudden something like Paranoid by Day to Remember comes on. I'm like, okay, this is just over 3 minutes. Then I get something like Corey Taylor's solo project lead single with CMFT Must Be Stopped. I'm like, okay, this is going to be like 5:15 already. I know exactly how much time I have on these. But then when it comes to listening to these songs outside of that setting, it doesn't feel like they're that long. And Arise had that same kind of feel where it felt like this isn't a 5.5 minute song. It felt like something that was around like that 4:15 mark when you really listen to it. It doesn't feel like it's 5.5 minutes. But then you look at time, you're like, that was 5.5 minutes? Man, those 5.5 minutes went by fast. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty behind some of the stuff we write. I mean, we'll think it's a 2.5, 3 minute song, and then we'll look at the timing and we'll say, well, shit, that was a 6 minute song we just did. Maybe we should try to see if we need to alter that a little bit.
We actually do have some songs that we've cut out like that. They did kind of drag a little bit, but
if it drags, we've got this thing right. So where we practice it right now, it doesn't have any working ACs, which is miserable in North Carolina heat.
Yeah.
But it's preparing us for the real world. So we're taking it and we're embracing it. But we've got this policy where if we're playing a song and anybody starts looking around for somewhere to sit, that means it's dragging. So we need to fix this before we carry forward with it.
That's a good way to put it, because you can make a 6 minute song and you can make it so that people are just consistently getting into it and just enjoying it throughout the whole entire thing. But I do kind of like that barometer as well, because then you kind of can feel, okay, there's gonna be a certain part in this song where it's just dragging on to, even if it's say something that's like 3 minutes in. Let's see a good song I can use as an example. Take a song like the Sin the Sentence from Trivium, where it goes through so many, after the second chorus, I could potentially start to see myself get to a point where I'm like, okay, if they're gonna keep going more on this, I might look for a place to sit down. But all of a sudden they go into the guitar solo, and it's just like, holy shit, here we go. So those 6 minute songs, those longer songs, they can easily work. And it can even get to a point where it's like you're almost about to get to that point where like, okay, maybe I should go sit down. And all of a sudden it's going to change up in the next 5 seconds. And everyone's like, oh shit, what was that? That can easily happen. But if you're getting to a point where it's like, people are, if you're playing and all of a sudden someone's starting to look for a place to sit down, it's like, okay, we'll take a look at this and we can kind of see where it's dragging on. And especially with the time of like, okay, now they're going to look for a place to sit down. Okay, now we can tell where it's kind of starting to drag on. What do we need to maybe shorten up? What do we have to cut out? But then again, it also has to be something that's going to flow. You can't just take a whole entire constructed song and all of a sudden have to cut 2 minutes out of it and make it seem like, okay, we're just going to cut that out and that's it. It might not flow very well after that. It could, but the likelihood that it wouldn't. So it's kind of like you kind of got to go back to the drawing board again on that one to figure out how you can make the same song hit the same way, and flow the same way, but with 2 less minutes.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
It's a tough thing to do, but hey, if it was easy, then everyone would do it.
Right.
Yeah.
dropping more movie quotes here. Let's go. That's my brain. It's full of music knowledge, random movie quotes, and a good amount of probably concussive tissue stuck up there. I don't know anymore.
I mean, that's a good skill set. General overall skill set. That's a good skill set.
It is. Oh, there's something with numbers too. I mean, I have to look at them all the time for my full-time job. So something with numbers has to be in there.
Right.
My brain's in a constant stream of 8s for some reason. Everything I do is in a pattern of 8.
Except your fingers. That's in a pattern of 10.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
that is a fact.
Hopefully his toes too.
Oh, I forgot about this. I mean, you never know. Next thing you know, tomorrow you're gonna hear from Megan. Yeah, guys, my toes are in patterns of 8 now. What do you mean? And he's gonna show you. He's like, I Van Gogh'd him and have a pinky toe just.
Just cut 2 of them off.
I mean, you never know. You might be able to play with a nub.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to try it. I mean, I'm not saying that it couldn't be done. I mean, look at Tommy Iommi. Sabbath.
I was about to say. I was like, it's been done before.
Yeah, he was getting mad at Cody earlier.
Speaking of pinky fingers, right before we connected with you for this, we were jamming on my practice amp in one of the other rooms, and I was playing a riff where I was hitting a pinch harmonic, and he was over my shoulder. He was like, "Play it with your pinky. Play it with your pinky." I was like, "Okay." No. I mean, I'm playing it my way. Play it with your pinky. He's like, it's so disrespected by the fact that I wasn't using my pinky for a pinch harmonic.
I missed this.
Because it's just such a bad habit.
Well, just remember, guys. Oh, shit, there goes my freaking video again.
Man down.
I seriously have to get new... Oh, there we go. I seriously have to get a new docking station, because I was going to do this when in doubt, pinky out. Just to mess with you guys, or maybe I'm not going to use my shaker cup when I do this anymore. Maybe a little bit too heavy. The vibration might be shaking everything up. God dang it! I got to get a new docking station. This is always there we go. Other webcam. How's it going? Oh dear God. Okay. Well, this is the first time I've had these kind of problems, or I have to get something else to match with this. Alrighty. Maybe I should do this by looking at what I'm doing, but it's funnier if I do it with the. Okay, screw this. We're doing it the old-fashioned way. I gotta look. Okay, hopefully that's the last time I have to worry about that, but I don't want to have to worry about it again. Alrighty, so wrapping this up because we kind of really dove deep into the song, and I know you guys said you have new music coming out sometime soon, or you're working on recording it. So what can we expect from your new music going forward with the stuff that's going to be coming out in the next couple of rest of the year, I should say?
Give them the rundown of the story. You want to kind of keep it secret?
Well, we hadn't. We're debating on whether we want to try to do a 1 or 2 more singles this year. We're definitely going to do 1 more. This day and age, we've had some people asking us about trying to release an EP or an album, but right now, especially with us not playing out a lot to be able to support it, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to release a whole album. Just releasing singles periodically every 2-3 months just seems like the smarter way to go. But we're definitely going to have 1 more single out. Possibly 2, but for sure 1 more. We're going in the studio next weekend. Same place we recorded Arise studio, about an hour away from our house. It's in a town called Dunn. Black Plate Productions is where we go record our music at. The name of the song is going to be called Break New Ground. And the story behind that song, just a quick version, is pretty much overcoming any type of addiction you have, whether it's drugs, alcohol, any type of addiction. So, I mean, the lyric content is really interesting, and then the music is good. It's more of an aggressive song. You speaking about how the vocals kind of remind you of Alter Bridge Shinedown feel. There's definitely a heavier Shinedown vibe to this as far as where the vocals go. I utilize a little bit of a higher range in this, and then also in the chorus. Making steps up on this, and we've almost got a dueling kind of Alice in Chains chorus where one part of it I'll sing high and he'll sing low, and the next line we'll switch. I'll go low and he'll go high.
Yeah, I really dig Megan's backing vocals on the new track.
I mean, it's going to be an awesome song. I'm a huge fan of Arise. I know people always say they're not the biggest fan of their music, but I love our music. And I can say without a doubt, the new song "Break New Ground" it's a better song to me than what Arise is, and I really love Arise. It's my favorite of the 2.
This song really
praise right there, guys.
This song really kind of defines where we come from because, like he said, it's an addiction. It's a song about overcoming addiction. We live in a really bad area for methamphetamine, and just the amount of people that use it around here, it's ridiculous. All of our families have been affected by it. There's at least one person in all of our families who's been on meth.
And again, not just with the fact of, drugs or alcohol, but it's any type of addiction, just basically using this song as a way to look yourself in the mirror and saying, look, this your wake up call. It's time to let go. If you want to keep moving forward with yourself, then you've got to leave all of this behind and break new ground and move forward.
Get rid of the negativity, bring on the positivity.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it too, especially with, I mean, what you guys are talking about with the fact that where you live is a very high place where people are on methamphetamines. But when you're talking about addiction as well, I mean, addiction can stem from anything, not only from drugs and alcohol, but we've seen, I mean, addiction to women, addiction to men, it could be anything like that. It could be something like addicted to just adrenaline, like adrenaline junkies. I mean, I kind of have a little bit of that myself as well, because But by this time next week, I'll be jumping out of a plane because I thought that skydiving would be a good idea. Mostly because I want to try it at least once. So yeah, but basically we're kind of going with that is what it's going to be a time where, especially at a time where everything kind of got shut down, where the world kind of came to a little bit of a stop, and where life was going kind of came to a stop for everybody. It was a good time to kind of just sit back and just kind of take an internal audit of yourself, just to see what you were doing, how you're living life, and if you really were enjoying what you were doing at all. And also, even if you were addicted to something or not, it could be just, okay, was I enjoying what I was doing in life at that before COVID? And if you were, fine. If you weren't, now's the perfect time to make that change. But it's going to be listening to a song like this to have that realization, to maybe push people to have that internal audit moment.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to hear it, and then also kind of hearing that the different harmonies in the vocals as well when you're kind of dueling with higher pitch and lower pitch between the both you guys as well, going with one going here, then all of a sudden, whoop, switch them up and see what happens.
Macon and I both, he's a lot more of an Alice in Chains fan than I am, but obviously with me growing up in that era with Nirvana, STP, Soundgarden, I mean, that obviously had an influence on me in a major way. But me and Macon have a lot of those, even though he's a little bit more on the heavier spectrum, we have a lot of similarities in music. And even though we come from different places with our guitar set and our singing set, we complement each other very well. That's one reason we kind of locked him in as quick as we did whenever he started jamming with us, just because, I mean, it was obvious that there was a strong connection there, music-wise. But I think this song will be a way for us to show off a little bit more of the band's skills versus us just playing. There was some slight overdub as far as dual vocals on Arise, but we wanted to keep it subtle. Again, we didn't want to kind of release all of our tricks just yet. We wanted to kind of build on it from Arise. And I think Break New Ground is going to be a good way for us to have that big step forward as far as letting everybody know, hey, these guys can also do this.
Yeah, but then again, it made sense to release Arise your first one as well. Again, that happy medium, and now you have a second chance. Now you got a second song to come out, and for the people that have listened to Arise as well, it's going to be interesting to see how they take it, because after your first song, it's like, okay, they're going to play with this kind of sound. However, you don't know exactly if they're going to stick with that sound or if they're going to be much more dynamic with it as well. So it makes sense that you come out with this kind of a song second to show that you've a lot more of a dynamic sound than just what you guys had on Arise.
We try to be dynamic as possible. One of my other big influencers is Stone Sour, just by how diverse their music is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one song they're playing like this. What's the word I'm looking for? Like Sublime kind of feel, and it goes into like 80s metal. Then you got one song that's straight up there with Slipknot.
Yeah, and it's just, that kind of also shows just, because when you look at Slipknot, it's like Slipknot's going to play Slipknot, but you listen to Stone Sour, that seemed like that band had more freedom for Corey Taylor to basically do what he wanted to do with more of a rock setting. But now with his solo project, it looks like there's even more freedom to work with whatever the heck he feels like, instead of trying to stick to, like with Slipknot, you're going to stick to that more like new metal sound straight through and through. When it was Stone Sour, you're going to stick to something that's going to have more of that rock and metal base. However, then when you go to something like his solo project, there's just going to be even more randomness in there. Like, take a look at CMFT, it's rap rock, pretty much straight to the core.
Yeah. Right. And Corey Taylor, he's always been a very awesome frontman to me. He's always been a great lyricist. I mean, he's a very talented guy. I know Cody me and him go back and forth on our takes on singers, but I think if I had to pick two lead singers, it'd be Lane Staley and Corey Taylor, because they're just so influential.
I know. He said, I think we got the best drummer in the world.
Okay. Cody Boyette, Lane Staley, and Corey Taylor.
As you can see, Kevin, he was not influenced in any way. He made that decision on his own.
It was all his own decision, and that was it. Wink.
He's 19 years old. We still have time to curb his mind, to give him the influence. So
I'll say if you let me influence him, man, all of a sudden, like when he thinks of like vocalists, like, okay, what vocalists are like the most, like those ones that are just like transcendent, you're never gonna be able to match them again. I'd be like, alrighty, we're gonna stick with three. We're gonna stick with Freddie Mercury, David Draymond, and Chester Bennington. And all of a sudden, it's like, how do you copy those? You don't. That's how you copy them.
Right.
Nobody can copy that down the sickness screen. No matter how hard they try, they can't do it.
No, it's such a prophetic voice, but it's kind of interesting, because I don't know if you guys know this, but like the reason why he's able to sing like that is because before Disturbed was like the last thing he was gonna do. If it wasn't for Disturbed, David Draymond would have been a rabbi.
Yeah,
and just having to learn to speak Hebrew, and just like the certain vocal tones that you need and certain patterns that you need to use with your voice in order to produce the sounds for that language, aided with how he sings.
So if I want to learn how to scream like Disturbed, I need to go learn Hebrew. Point taken.
and also have a voice that talks like this.
Yeah.
Seeing him live too, and he speaks, it's just like it's sort of like you're at like a sermon or something. It's like, okay, is this the word of the Lord right here, or what's going on, or is this just David Draymond? Like, it sounds that way.
That's terrifying. He's intense, man.
He is, and then you get someone like, and it's even crazier too, because like listening to Chester, it's just you have those like the rough vocals and the scream. It's just like, how the hell do you, like, no one can match this. However, I do have to give a little bit of credit to Danny Case from Ashes to New, because on their song Panic, he's that's the closest I've seen anyone come to kind of matching the vibe that Chester Bennington had. That's the closest thing anyone's going to come is that. But you can't match it. It was something completely out of left field when Linkin Park first came out, and then as they kept going on, it just no one could match it. It became one of those top tier voices of all time.
Oh yeah, I mean Chester sung with nothing but emotion. I mean every word he sung was emotion.
Yeah, even from the days of Hybrid Theory, even up to One More Light, and even when One More Light came out, there was a lot of people that were like, "What the hell's going on?" Just because it sounded nothing like what they had ever done in the past. And then all of a sudden, once that unfortunate day happened, I jumped back into it, and all of a sudden you start listening to the lyrics, and it was just a whole different thing, because then you realize exactly what was going on. And you're just like, holy shit, how we not pick up on this?
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I've always appreciated about Linkin Park is that they never released the same thing twice. I mean, they from album to album, and they were always Linkin Park, but they were never scared to experiment. I mean, in any spectrum. I mean, they were very versatile and able to do about anything they wanted to. Very creative guys for sure.
Yeah, and then I think they said they're potentially doing something again, but if they were going to do something again, there was going to be no way it was going to sound like anything they'd ever done, because there was no way they were going to try. They remember they said this. There was no way they were going to even attempt or think about replacing Chester.
Oh yeah, you can't.
Yeah, there's no possible way that could be could be done. It's just not possible.
Right.
It'd be like Slipknot trying to replace Corey Taylor.
It's just not going to happen.
Exactly. I would have said Alice Chain trying to replace Lane Staley, but even after his death, they found the perfect guy to basically succeed him. That's a better way to put it. They found someone to succeed him.
It took a long time, but I mean, it was the wait was well worth it. I mean,
I will give William Duvall credit. He's got some serious skill in his vocal range, but I mean, you can't replace Lane Staley. I've heard people try to make that voice. It doesn't. William does his own voice. Lane had his own voice. Everybody who tried to copy Lane's voice, they couldn't get anywhere close to it. They get up there and they do, yeah, they do that, and it wouldn't sound the same.
You can't do it either.
I know I can't do it. I don't try to, but I'm just saying. I mean,
yeah, I would say, Macon, don't try and copy Lane Staley's voice. I don't think it's gonna work. All right, guys, I'll take a look at the time. We've done about an hour and 45 right now, and we went through a huge deep dive into the band. We did a huge deep dive into Arise, and looking forward to the new single when it comes out before the end of the year, hopefully before the end of the year. But if it takes longer than that, then it takes longer than that. However, it seems like with the initial push that you guys got off of Arise, and especially what you're doing to make sure that people are hearing about To Begin Anew, you guys are doing something right, because, again, you don't just, especially during a pandemic, you don't just get over 6,000 streams by doing nothing.
Right.
I mean, a big shout out. I mean, I know we're in some new territory with your podcast, but just whoever sees this, thank you for taking the time for
thank you for reaching out to us.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Appreciate everybody listening to the music and enjoying it. I'll go out on a limb as far as the new single goes. Expect it late September, early October. I mean, it's definitely for sure coming out this year. I'd say late October at the absolute latest, but I think that's unrealistic. Expect it late September, early October for sure.
All right, sounds good. And then when it comes out, make sure you let me know, because on the day it releases, unless if there's something else I have like set for that day, we can make it as our Song of the Day feature on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter page, so that all of a sudden people wake up in the morning and they're like, oh, what's the Song of the Day choice? Who's this To Begin Anew band? I'm like, did you guys listen to the podcast? No. Okay, first go listen to the podcast, get in with the band, and then listen to the song. And that's like, yes, we must comply. And do something like that.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You're very welcome, guys. And Cody, thanks for constantly being active on that SiriusXM Octane fan page. Because again, that's how I found out about you guys. And you posted like, "Hey, check this out." And I'm like, "Okay." I just jumped right in. I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And then I had to like, "Okay, how am I going to get in contact with them?" That's one thing I've gotten really good at, was figuring out how to get in contact with bands like you guys and bands that are a little bit further along in their careers than you guys are as well. It took me a while to figure it out, but I think I'm doing all right with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll be sure to keep blasting it out there, man.
Sounds good. And then do you guys have any final remarks before we do our final send-off?
No, again, I'll just say on behalf of everybody here, man, thank you for reaching out and giving us your time. It's been an awesome experience getting to know you, and appreciate all the nice things you said about us, man. We really appreciate it.
Very welcome. It was nice getting to know you guys well. And I'm going to end with this. So for everyone listening out there, I feel like if you've listened to podcasts in the past like 10 episodes, you know exactly where I'm going with this, but I'm going to say it again. So I mentioned it earlier. Yeah, I went to college for 3.5 years. I studied econ. I understand when it comes to consumer behavior and incentives, and I'll use incentives, put convenience in there as well. So you're thinking, okay, To Begin Anew, I want to listen to their stuff. I want to follow their stuff, but I wish there was a place where, I could just open up something and all of a sudden there'd be links to everything where I could find them, to anything possible. But I don't want to search up because there'd be a place like that. And I'm going to tell you this, guys. If you're watching the YouTube video, look at the description of the video. If you're listening on Spotify podcast or Google Play, just look at the description of the podcast. Open it up because you're going to see just this entire list of links for Facebook, for Instagram, any social media, YouTube, the Arise video, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever I can find their music, whatever I can find on them, wherever you can follow along with the band and get in with them now, you're going to have a one-stop shop link, basically bank right there for everything for To Begin Anew. It's going to be a one-click away thing, and if that doesn't get you into the band, then you got no excuse. I mean, this is your no excuse. It's a one-click thing. Bing, bang, boom. You can get in the band super easy. You don't have to search it up or anything. I'm going to do all that for you. You just got to look at the link, click it, done.
Awesome.
I like that.
We appreciate that, man. We've actually we're in the process of developing .com right now. So hopefully in the coming weeks, we're actually going to have a full-fledged, our own ToBeginAnew.com.
Yeah. We just did a photo shoot. We're waiting for those.
And that's going to be the, what is it?
Website.
Yeah.
We're going to have a ToBeginAnew.com.
Where you can find everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
That's the bad thing about having all these different social medias, is that you've got to try to plug each individual one, where you've got your merch, and then you've got your music, and then you got your video, and then you've got all this, that, and the other. So trying to make sure that you promote it enough, but you're not overfeeding with the same plug. So everyone's like, please stop with that one link.
Okay, so here's what we'll do for that then, because if by the time this video comes out and this podcast gets released, if the website is not ready, then we just won't have it in the links. But when it is ready, send me the link for it, because there's the magic like edit description button that I can use and just put it right on in there. So then all of a sudden people look, it's like, oh wait, they got a website now? And yeah, they do. Go check it out. No! I gotta have like a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger just going, no! For funsies.
Sounds perfect, man.
Sounds perfect. Well, guys, from To Begin Anew, this was fantastic. Thank you guys for being on the podcast. And for everyone else, yeah, follow their stuff. Get in with their music now, because
Thank you for having us.
You can tell these guys are going places. They know what they're doing. They got the idea. They got the vision. They're gonna be moving places. So once the pandemic is over, once they start playing live shows, you're gonna be like, holy crap, I want to get to know this band, because by the time they get big, I want to, have that time where I can brag to my friends like, I knew them when they were smaller and emerging and coming up in the scene, and you only like them now when they're big. Yeah, you want those bragging rights? This is where you get those bragging rights. So thanks for listening and getting with To Begin Anew. So, yeah, I'm going to end with that. So Cody, Casey, Macon, and Shane, thank you guys for being on the podcast. And I'm not going to say goodbye, because I hate that. It seems like it's going to be the end of it all. Because when it comes down to it, I would love to have you guys on the podcast again sometime later down the line. Love to feature your new single when it comes out, and when live shows return, see you guys play live. So I'm not going to end this with a goodbye. I'm going to end this with what I always end it with. See you later.
Take it easy, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that was my interview with the guys from the band To Begin Anew. Again, everything you need to know about the band to follow them is in the description of this video or in the podcast if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Play. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this one because this one was incredible. As I always say there, but that is because that is the honest to God's truth. And, well, get with them now before they become the biggest bands in the world. So when it comes to this episode, again, please follow us and subscribe to us on the YouTube channel for My Song They Rock 2000 a Day, or follow us and subscribe on Spotify, Podcast, Google Play. Hopefully by the time this one is out, iHeartRadio as well. I will let you guys know that when that happens. And yeah, so this one was great. Please rate the episode. Please rate the podcast. Hopefully it's 5 stars. But, I mean, that's all up to you with what you guys want to rate. I want you guys to be honest. I want to know what you guys think about it. So please let me know. Please follow My Sunday Rock Thursday on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Please help us continue to grow. And that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for listening and watching. If you did, my name is Kevin. This is the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song a Day, Rock 2000 a Day. And you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!